What's up, everyone, and welcome back to a very special podcast episode. My name is Marcelo Leone, and today I am honored to be with Mr. Morgan Powell. Mr. Morgan Powell is someone who's very special in my life. He's helped me through a lot of times, especially during basketball season, and he's definitely been a grandfather figure in my life. And I'm honored to be here and to talk about your story today.
I look forward to it.
All right, so Mr. Powell, what first drew you to the game of basketball and what made you fall in love with it?
It's interesting. As a young person in elementary school, I had no interest in baseball. But all of a sudden in the fifth grade in the summertime, I had to fill my time. And a good friend of mine, Mike Madden, who was 2 years older than me, interested me in shooting hoops. So I started to shoot hoops. But the turning point is we went down to see the Harlem Globetrotters. They had a portable court from third to first base at the Municipal Stadium. And it was the first time I saw the magic circle, and I saw Goose shooting a hook shot. So at halftime, Mike said, let's get down, see if we can get in the dugout and say hello to these guys. And I was bashful as hell. I said, not me, but Mike went down. He was able to get in the dugout. So after the game, he said, let's go to the locker room and meet him when they leave. So we did. So who walks out? Marcus Haynes, and he sees Mike. He says, Mike, you want to carry my bag? And Mike says, yeah. So there I am trailing Marcus and Madden. And all of a sudden I hear, hey, kid, you want to carry mine? Here was Goose Tatum. My feet never touched the ground. And after that, I got the nickname Goose in junior high and high school. So now the interest was planted. So now in the sixth grade, I started to play at Coit Playground myself. In those days, we didn't have nets, just the regular basket. And I remember shooting by myself, and they used to have guys from all over the city would come there to play ball. And there was one fella sitting on the bench by himself. And he asked me, he said, do you mind if I shoot with you? I said, no. He said, I see you're trying to shoot a hook shot. He says, let me give you some instructions. So he worked with me for about 15 minutes. And that was foundation, because that was really my go-to shot in high school. And so I got started. Seventh grade, Collinwood High School, went from the seventh grade to the 12th. Junior high team was made up of seventh, eighth, and ninth graders. I go out for the team. I make it as a seventh grader. And that's where I started to play organized ball. And everything just got bigger, faster. And how can I say, it was a turning point in my life. So what happened then, in the eighth grade, we had a playground called Castalia, 20 minutes away. And all they had was just two hoops and some cobblestone dirt. Well, they came in, they put asphalt on top, they put a fence around, and they put lights up. So now all of a sudden, from the eighth grade until I graduated from high school, I could go up there, turn the lights on at night, and play. And we used to get a lot of good ball players to show up. And I never forget the first time we went to Blep Coons to buy nets. And there was 5 of us threw in the money. And we bought the nets, and then we were able to have actual nets.
Yeah.
And it was a hell of a situation to grow up in. I mean, a good time. It did well in junior high. In fact, we did extremely well. I think one year we went undefeated. My sophomore year, I made the team, and I'll never forget, that was the first year that they just bought satin uniforms, the jerseys, the jackets, the pants. So I took a basketball, painted it white, and put red and black stars on it. And we used the ball to warm up. And we used that ball my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And we had great success.
What are some of your earliest memories of playing, whether it was at a park, school, or with friends?
Well, couple stories. One, Collingwood signed a contract to play St. Joe's in basketball my sophomore year, junior, and senior. Sophomore year, we played at Collingwood. Junior, we went there. Senior, we played at Collingwood. So our sophomore year, we had chalk talk on Monday, and we went through the various ball players. And we went through their tendencies, Ken Boyle and Holzheimer, because they had a damn good team. But before we broke for practice, after we went through the tendencies, our coach says, "We got a big problem." We said, "What are you talking about, coach?" He says, "I'm good, but I'm not that good." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "When they go to shoot the foul shot, majority of them make the sign of the cross." He says, "I got to figure out how I can neutralize that, but I'll think of something." So 5 minutes later, before tip-off, he calls a timeout. He says, "You guys in the foul line, when they make the sign of the cross, I want you to cross your fingers to neutralize it." And by God, we beat them. And Bernie Guilfoyle was the head coach of St. Joe's. And Lesko later told me, Bernie says, "What the hell was that?" And he said, "Bernie, I'll never tell you. I never will." And the other thing, my junior year, we had a damn good team. We had Joe Arizona, our point guard, Bob Zust, forward, Frank Antonio, forward, Paul Byers, and myself. We rotated in the center, and we ran a 1-3-1. And we're playing at St. Joe's. My girlfriend, who I married, got in a car accident Saturday afternoon. So I hustled to the hospital, which is right next to St. Joe's. It was Glenville Hospital. So I'm there. She's in surgery. I'm waiting. She comes out. And then she says, "Don't you have a game?" I said, "Holy God." Yeah. I ran across the street to the gym, and they're coming off the court after shooting layups.
Yeah.
And the coach says, "Just get dressed," which I did. And he says, "I want you to play low post, don't move. We're going to open up the middle," which we did. And Frank and Bob Zust had a picnic that, but he never held it against me. I mean, he was a hell of a coach. And to tell you how good of a coach he was, Cleveland Public Auditoriums, the gyms were built in 1920s. So John Hay, East Tech, John Adams, East, Glenville were small gyms as well as ours were. So every team played zone, because why play man-to-man on a small court? Our coach took the philosophy, okay, if they ran a 2-1-2 or a 1-2-2 or a box and one, he says, "I know where they're at on the court, so it's my job to move them." So our guard, Joe Arizona, would penetrate the zone. We never threw the ball around. We moved them, and we were able to overload, open up the middle. But the other thing that we stressed was box out. That's all we did. Even though we were not as big as we should have been, you can bet your whatever, we boxed out, and that helped us win some games we shouldn't have. We did well. East Tech was in our league, East Senate, my junior year, and we played them at home and away. And we almost beat them at home, but we didn't. So my junior year, we won our district at Menor. We moved to Case and played East Tech in the regionals, and they beat us. But East Tech won the state championship my junior and senior year. I mean, they were a good team. My sophomore year, Cathedral Latin had a team that all they did was press, and they were phenomenal, and they made it to the semifinals. And some of the ball players that played there was Norm Barlage of Latin, Don Gacy, Al Payne, Larry Trunk, Ray Zawoski, and one other kid, and they were phenomenal. So my sophomore, junior, and senior year, one team made it to the semifinals. Junior and senior year, the team East Tech won the state, just to show you how powerful they were. So played ball against them, and in the summertime, I always played at Castelli, but when I got my driver's license in high school in the summer, we'd go to Patterson, Shaw Field, and also up in the Heights to play ball. And if we'd go to Patterson, three of us, there might be a waiting list to play. We'd go then to some other place, and eventually we would play. But nobody wore shorts. Everybody wore long pants. It was unbelievable. So we got to know a lot of the ball players. So my senior year finished, season's over, East Tech won the state. So the coach, John Broski from East Tech, called my coach, Lesko, and said, would Morgan like to play on our team where we're going to be in a lot of tournaments after the season? And he asked me, I said, hell yes, because I knew Jim Stone, Ken Glenn, I knew all these guys. And I was a token ball player, but they would pick me up at home and we'd go to Boardman, Farrell, Pennsylvania, Sharon, played at Cleveland Arena. And all I can tell you, these kids were super athletes. I mean, they were phenomenal. And Jim Stone played at Providence behind Lenny White Wilkins. And Kenny played at Niagara. And so some of them played major basketball. And but I had great moments with these ball players in the summer, and they were all gentlemen. They really were. So now it came time to graduate. So there was interest from Miami and some other colleges. So I get down to Miami of Ohio. Coach Schreider was the coach. Saw him Friday night. He put us up in a dorm and gave us chits to go student union. And so I saw him Saturday morning, and he says, you're going to be playing pickup ball at a playground. I said, fine. So there was 8 of us, played ball for about 2 hours, and came back, got dressed, saw the coach, and we left Sunday morning. So 2 weeks later, they called to offer me a spot. They called it a grant and aid, but it was like a scholarship. And that's how I was introduced to Miami. And but what an experience. It really was.
Wow. So do you have any stories in high school that stand out to you? And what parts of your game or mentality did you take the most pride in?
Well, one thing, we ran a 1-3-1 offense against a 1-2-2, 2-1-2, which meant that we had the guard, Joe Arizona, Bob, Zust and Jantonio, the wingman. I started underneath the basket, and Paul started at the foul line.
Yeah.
We would then rotate in a circle. So we never had a post person go from one position to another. So what this meant was my turn to come up, I could shoot a hook shot.
Yeah.
It was devastating. And also because of that, we could overload without them knowing until it was too late. But we penetrated the zone. We forced them to move. And once we knew how they were moving, then we reacted and we got our shots off. And the only team that we had struggles with in the Senate was East Tech.
Yeah.
Other than that, we were very competitive. And but our coach, he was excellent. He really was. But the other thing was they played a boxing one against me my senior year, and they wished they wouldn't have.
Why is that?
Well, a boxing one, and they put a man on me is the easiest defense to run against because I would rub the guy guarding me against their own man, low post, and I could shoot a hook shot or feed it off. And that was one of my better successes in high school. But I had my moments where I had 30 and 20. But I was fortunate that I had guys that were good passers. And it worked out well. I really loved the school, loved the coach and the ball players. And I played against Clark Kellogg's father at East when I was a sophomore, and Joe Guy, they played for East High.
Yeah.
In those days, my sophomore year, the key was a small key. My sophomore year, they expanded it. Well, Clark Kellogg Sr., he looked like a village. He was so big, but a sweetheart of a guy. And like I said, the two greatest teams I played against in high school was Cathedral Latin my sophomore year, then East Tech my junior and senior year. And you got to take the hat off to these kids because they made the big time and they won it. They really did.
Wow. That is awesome. So then you talked about how you committed to Miami University. Yeah. So talk about your career there and some of your favorite moments.
Well, I didn't have too many favorite moments. My freshman year, I competed. My sophomore year, I show up for practice, and a kid by the name of Dave Zeller was ahead of me. And also another kid, Benny Benson, was ahead of me. Well, Dave Zeller, when he graduated, ended up playing for the Cincinnati Royals and was Oscar Robinson's backup in the NBA. And Benny Benson, who was maybe 5'6", played with Oscar Robinson and Addicts. And I had to compete with these kids every practice. And I got to the point where even in the summer, I tried to get faster, leaner, that they were just better than me. So I became a role player. And I did get an education and graduated. And so the end result was positive. And I graduated with an accounting degree and a finance minor. And I loved every moment of it. And we played at Kentucky with Adolph Rupp, Don Nelson, who played for the Celtics at Iowa. We played against Bowling Green with Butchie Comize, and played against some good ball players. I got in, but basically as a role player, and I just couldn't reach the starting. They were better than me. And But anyway, I persevered. I got through it.
Yeah. Do you have any other stories from your time at Miami?
Well, we used to play liar's poker, and I was always an amateur magician. So me and Jim Downing, one of the guards, he played with Jerry Lucas, Middletown, and we ended up winning maybe 90% of the games we were in, and they could never figure it out. But it was all work at Miami. It really was. One season I had shin splints, put me out for about 3 weeks, and then I pulled a muscle, and that was terrible. But they still pushed you. Yeah. But my experiences at college was like a work day. You show up, get dressed, go through the drills, and make sure that you try to be enthusiastic, keep people up, and but it was different. It was different. But I got to admit, though, they never used any of my assets. I don't know why. I didn't ask, but uh, so I was like a bump on a Heinz pickle trying to fit in. But I persevered. I got through
Yeah.
it and made a lot of relationships to this day. And I'm 85 now, so it's amazing how many people are not with us. But I got a lot of fond memories. But the best of memories is when we used to travel, like I mentioned before, to various playgrounds and play ball, because there was a camaraderie amongst, regardless of what school you were from. Uh, we just enjoyed the sport. And but I know Bernie Guilfoyle, like I mentioned, we beat him 3 years in a row. And my junior year, I took a shot from the corner, and it glazed off the backboard and went in. And Bernie says he knew he was in trouble. But here's the other thing, the rub. We had metal fan backboards. Shaw had glass. Latin had composite rectangle.
Really?
Okay. And in our walls at Collinwood was like 6 feet behind our basket. Glenville was the same. East wasn't that better. And we got into various gyms. And we were not big, but East Tech had guys 6'8", 6'9", and that's why we played zone. But we were able to compete, and we were a force, but we never got the crown. But we enjoyed getting there, or close to it. Really was. But I enjoyed practice. Our coach was humorous. He made it enjoyable, and but the big game was against Shaw, the first game, and we went to Shaw, and we played sophomore Tom Maddie.
Okay.
My junior and senior year, they had a kid by the name of Dennis Kluge, who I thought was the best ball player that I ever played against.
Really?
He was a talent, and he ended up playing at Kent. And I knew Dennis well, but that was always our highlight. But we were lucky that we beat Dennis my junior and senior year. But I had good memories, and some bad defeats, but that's part of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So what role has family played in your life after basketball, and how has it shaped the person you are today?
Well, I raised 3 boys. None of them played basketball. They were all like football players, and uh, and baseball players. But I played amateur ball up until I was over 50, and Anyway, I could still shoot slowly. Uh, but I guess the only thing I carried away without knowing it was perseverance, because I was in various businesses. Some failed, some were very successful. Uh, but sometimes your misfortune's your fortune, but you have to persevere. And I didn't know it at the time, but that's one of the values I learned in basketball. Is it's just the nature of the beast. Okay. Somebody said teamwork. I said, not really. To me, perseverance is if you failed, you had to pick yourself up and go on to the next challenge. And I had my few.
Wow. So were there any other takeaways that shaped the person you are today from the game?
Well, I think one of the businesses I had, the last one, I was in Russia for 10 years, from 92 until 2001. And started a business with Eric Zilberman, who was from Moscow. And, I guess to use the word teamwork is a loose word. But when you come down to it, if you could have an organization where you have good camaraderie, teamwork from the standpoint of different departments, and we never asked for yes people. It was tell us what the hell's going on and we'll correct it. And I think that's one thing I learned from basketball, that if you're not successful, hopefully you have the energy to pick yourself up and do the next thing. And that's all I can tell you from that aspect.
Great. So, as you look at your children and grandchildren,
Yeah.
how does it feel to see how they've excelled in sports and followed in your footsteps in their own ways?
Well, I'll tell you, I mentioned my kids played football and wrestling. So Mark, my oldest, at 185 senior year, he was asked to join the wrestling team because two of the guys got hurt and they need somebody to fill in. And Mark says, okay. So he played, he was involved in 11 matches. So the first quarter, because of his strength, he was able to hold his own. Second quarter, you could see him getting weaker. Third quarter, he had no technique. And he never won a match. He even pinned himself one time, believe it or not.
Really?
So there's Mark that went defeated in wrestling. There's David. He wrestled one match in high school and won and quit. So he's undefeated. And Stevie, my youngest, was a phenomenal wrestler in junior high, but he got mono and just destroyed him. And he had to give up wrestling. And so he was very successful at wrestling. So they all went through trials and tribulations. But the biggest test was David, my senior. He was a center at Willoughby South, 6'3", about 250, strong as a bull, and he was a center. Second year, he breaks his ankle, and he loses his senior year. And after that, he just said to hell with it and never pursued it. But Mark and Stevie played college football, but never got past their freshman year because they became students. And not that they learned from me, but I sort of played success in sports very lightly because I know there's always somebody next to you or behind you that is better than you, and just be prepared to be surprised. And they all turn out to be great men. And They're the three boys. If I was in a foxhole, those are the three boys that I would want to be there. Other than that, they're successful fathers, and proud of them, love them completely.
Yeah. So, have the lessons you've learned from basketball, discipline, perseverance, how have they influenced the way you've approached being a father, grandfather, or mentor to others?
Well, I was a big brother for 8 years. Mike Valligor, I met him in the third grade. I had him until he graduated from West G his senior year. And he played sports, but I played it down. Yeah, I didn't discourage him, but I wanted to let him know that there's a world out there. And if you run across somebody better, just be strong and do the best you can. And in my sons, I always played sports down. I really did. I never made a big thing out of it. And but they all turned out to be coaches, and their children played sports. But I always played it close to the chest. Yeah, that's about all I can say. But it's great to see young people develop, and then you got to share their successes and disappointments with them. But if you're ready, you can get involved with them, and they'll learn lessons without knowing it through osmosis. Okay, and I know my Anna. She was a manager in soccer, and she played one game and scored a goal. So she's in my Hall of Fame wall. Okay, and yeah, good kids, good kids. And I dated my wife since the ninth grade. Got to married in my senior year in college. She got a degree in nursing, and I got a degree in accounting. And we started a family after that. And I'm just very proud. And we have 9 grandchildren, 4 boys and 5 girls. And we have 6 great grandchildren, 2 boys and 4 girls. And we're expecting a baby in March of next year. And so far, so good, knock on wood. I have no bitches. But I can tell you one thing, my biggest complaint in my life is I had a large software company in 1982 to 87. I developed specific software, cities, schools, manufacturing, distribution. I even wanted a software package to sort on 10 fields.
Yeah.
It wasn't available, and I hired 4 menses that worked for me for a month, and they developed it. And I was able to then introduce software into the employment agency business. I went from 0 to 30 some employees at a service department, software, obviously, forms, and I sold direct. But I tried to do it all on my own. I didn't have a board of directors, and I could kick myself, you know where, because if I was smart enough to have a board of directors, I think I'd still be in business today. But I had to shut the business down.
Wow.
And that's one thing I learned from business. You know, be smart, surround yourself with people with some experience. Hopefully you can find them, and hopefully things will work out.
Wow.
But anyway, that's what I did learn from basketball. Once I graduated from Miami, I played amateur ball every year, 2 nights a week, because I was with a great bunch of kids or men. And it's just amazing the camaraderie that you develop and how strong some people are. And it's I've been very blessed, very blessed.
Wow. So, do you have any other stories or any other memories that you would like to share?
Well, the only time, like I mentioned, when I travel with East Tech, these tournaments, they put me in the back seat, and I never laughed as much in my life. I mean, these guys were funny, but then I was able to practice with them, and they were pure athletes. I mean, God bless them. They really had the talent, and they proved it by winning the state. And most of them are gone now, but I really took my hat off to them, especially the team when I was a sophomore at Cathedral Latin. These guys, they were all gentlemen, and it was an honor to play against them,
Wow.
even though we never beat them. But it was an honor thinking about it. And but all I can tell you, I've been very lucky. Yeah, simple as that. And sometimes your misfortune is your fortune.
Yeah.
I found that out, and a couple times in life. And anyway.
Wow. So, what's one message or piece of advice you'd want your family and especially the younger generation to carry with them from your journey?
It's important to have family. Number one, work at it. I mean, really work at it. And if you can, if it's possible, honor the older people of your family, which I know happens. But family is everything. To me, it was. I grew up as the only child. I had a sister 8 years older than me, but she got married when she was 16. So I went through life without a family, and they're precious, and you just can't put any value on it. You know, it's just inherent. And with all the grandkids, regardless of what they played, I encouraged them, and I always told them just be strong, and obviously do the best you can. And so that was the only thing I ever mentioned to them. I low-keyed winning. You know, I really did.
Wow.
That's about it.
So, Mr. Powell, that's all the questions that I have, but I just wanted to say personally, thank you very much for doing this podcast with me. Obviously, just, growing up and hearing about your journey, your experiences, they've helped me so much. And obviously, just being able to talk with you, whether that's at a family event or even after one of my basketball games, and especially seeing you in the stands at my games, it definitely meant a lot to me. And I'm very grateful to have you a part of my life and a part of my journey. And
Well,
thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome, and I enjoy this opportunity. And I know as soon as we click off, I'll have other stories. But but just to close, in college, I was behind pros, and I learned a lesson that you cannot be the oyster all the time. Okay, and but all these guys were gentlemen; they really were. And college, they were good ball players, good people,
Yeah.
very good people.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Good. Look forward to it.
Great.
Playing ball at Collinwood, I had some successes. And one year, my senior year, I was selected for the all-city team. And they called it the All-Scholastic. And 3 ball players from East Tech, Lemoyne Porter, Jim Stone, Ken Glenn were selected, as well as Al Payne and myself. We were 5 selected from the East Senate my senior year. And then after I graduated, about 10 years later, they selected the top 100 ball players that played in the Senate. And my name was selected as one of them. And I got a picture here where I could dunk.
Nice.
And so then when I played in Miami, this was a roster one year. And this gentleman here, Dave Zeller, is the one who was a backup for Oscar Robinson. And Benny Benson is the one who played for Oscar at Attucks High School. And Bobby Jinks, even though he has a football uniform, he ended up being a kicker for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Really?
1 year, though. But we had such an array of talent that this guy, Ralph Wright, 6'1", he center jumped every game to start off.
Really?
He'd go against guys 6'10", 7 foot, and he'd win the tip. I mean, his vertical leap was out of sight.
Really?
And quite a human, nice guy.
Wow.
And then Jim Downing played with Jerry Lucas at Middletown. And just a nice bunch of guys.